Good morning. Thank you for coming to the Greater Kitsap Chambers first 25th annual Eggs and Issues and First for this election cycle. My name is John Morsey, and I'm a board member of the Greater Kitsap Chamber. We have the 23rd legislative district candidates here today for the primary, both virtually and in person. So we are going to act. I think Tara didn't get to hear me earlier, so I'm doing this for her benefit. She is behind me on the screen, but we're going to act as if you're on this end. So I don't know what you're seeing here, but I will definitely call out your name when it is your turn. And we'll just kind of go back and forth, rotating which end starts and trying to go so that each person gets the first and the last. So we'll start, Drew will get the first question, Ace will get the second question, Janelle will get the third question, etc. and get the idea from there. But when we start that, and Drew, you will be the first to go with opening statements. You will each get 3 minutes to tell us a little bit about yourselves and to introduce yourselves to the folks both online and here today. So we thank you for being here, and we'll get it kicked off. For those of you in attendance today, I am still taking questions while I have some that have already been submitted and some that I like to recycle. You are welcome to use the cards in front of you and bring them up to the table and set them here. We are looking for business-related questions, and then we'll kind of work our way out on topics outside from that. Everybody clear? Ready to get started. Okay, so a 3-minute opening statement, and we will start with Drew Hansen.
Great. Thank you for moderating. Thanks to the Chamber of Cloverleaf for doing this. I assume you all can hear me okay? Okay, excellent. My name is Drew Hansen. I'm sorry, just getting it out. Okay. My name is Drew Hansen. I represent the 23rd Legislative District in the House. Most of what I work on in the House relates to helping people achieve decent jobs so they can support their families. This has not been a great couple of years for the state. It has not been a great couple of years. I feel like most of what we need to focus on as state legislators is helping people get on their feet and stay on their feet. So, for example, I brought the new electrical engineering degree from WSU in partnership with Olympia College to Kitsap County. The unemployment rate for graduates of that program, as far as I know, is 0. Every single graduate there gets a job at the shipyards, at Boeing, and at somewhere. Similarly, I brought 2 degree programs, one in cybersecurity and the other in early childhood education with Western Washington University, also OC. Again, every graduate from those programs goes on. But one thing I try to do in the legislature to make sure people know is not just about college. There are plenty of ways to go support your family and make good money that don't run through a 4-year college degree. So I've done a lot to promote awareness of apprenticeships in a lot of different fields, construction, healthcare, and others. If I am reelected, I will do a lot more work in that vein. I was meeting just a few weeks ago with the president of Western Washington University. They want to dramatically expand their presence on the Kitsap Peninsula, maybe by as many as 4,000 students. Those are 4,000 more people who are going to have a chance to get trained to go get decent jobs and make some good money. That's great. I look forward to working with them on that. Similarly, I was talking to a friend of mine last week who is now an account manager at an HVAC company. Great. I want to work with him and others to make sure more people know about opportunities for apprenticeships. I'm in regular testing welding instructor at Renton Technical College. We may need to support our welding programs forward as a community colleges so that they can admit more students who can then go get jobs and save folks elsewhere. There's other stuff that I work on. In all candor, I spent a lot of the last 4 days trying to figure out how we protect access to abortion rights in Washington State and in the wake of the Dobbs decision overturning Roe v. Wade. Abortion is protected in state law, but there are questions about how we protect doctors, nurses, and others who might be able to provide abortion care to people from other states so they don't get their own for it. These are kind of the emerging issues that come up. As those issues come up, I will if I am reelected, try to be on top of that and safeguard the interests of people in this area. But, really my focus since I showed up in the legislature has been helping people get decent jobs and support their families. I thought, well, that's what I will continue to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jerome. Next up is Kate.
Hello, I'm Ace Haynes, and I like to start every meeting with this small mention tribal land acknowledgement, so I'm going to put that to the record now. Every part of this soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hallowed by some sad or happy event in days long vanished. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is within the original territories of the Squaws people of clear saltwater. Squamish people. Expert fishermen, new builders, and basket weavers. Squaws live in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's central Salish Sea as they have for thousands of years. Here, the Squaws live and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. Thank you. My name is Ace Haynes. I've lived here my entire life. I really think that this job is an excellent opportunity to represent the community in the 23rd Legislative District. I've had so much fun running for office, meeting with all the different groups out here, and everyone that has been left behind by our current political system. I really would like to be elected so that I can do more in the community. That if I'm not elected, I'm going to continue to work in this community to bring us together. I've met with the Kingston Rotary, and I'm looking forward to expanding their outreach into the community. I had a lot of fun meeting with the voices of Pacific Island cultures, Pacific Island nations, and they have a wonderful presentation up there at the Kingston Village Green. I think that it's important that our legislature responds to issues within the community through direct representation. So if I find a bunch of people meeting on the streets and they have an issue, I'm going to stop and I'm going to find out what that issue is and how it can be represented within our legislation. I invite everyone in the community to participate in our legislative processes, and I encourage them to call me if they have any questions about how they can get involved. My phone number is 360-626-1945. I think that Drew has been doing a fairly decent job with his ability to represent our community. I appreciate some of his efforts to expand broadband outreach to level of public utility access. The idea that only corporations are allowed to bring us basic public needs is antiquated and has been shown time and time again to not work for those of us furthest out from economic centers. I think that the 23rd district is being represented mostly as a Bremen outreach district, and there's far more to our district than just Bremen and East Bremen. That being said, I love East Bremen. I've been here my entire life, and there's nothing about East Bremen that I think needs to be radically changed. I can't wait to find out what some of the issues are today, and I look forward to representing my entire community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ace. And next up is Janelle Holst.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I'm just excited to be able to introduce myself and to have this discussion. My name is Janelle Holst, and I'm running for the 23rd Legislative District, position 1. I am not a politician, but I am a business owner, I'm a mother, and I'm an invested citizen of the state who would like to ensure that our state is safe, stable, and secure for all of us to not just survive, but to be able to thrive. As we all do, I've experienced many hardships and adversities in my life, and I have experienced some really exceptional hardships in my life and circumstances that I've overcome that I'm very thankful for, because they have created me into the person that I am and helped me to be an innovative thinker, to have a well-rounded experience in life, and I believe a great perspective that our society can benefit from. It has also pushed me into learning things and doing things that I otherwise would not have. I have successfully represented myself in court. I got to learn about the legislative process and getting to know more about our laws and our state and U.S. Constitution, and also pushed me to successfully start my own business. I have studied architecture and consistently carrying a 4.0, achieving Dean's List and graduating with highest honors. And I am now in the profession of general contracting and architectural design. And in my profession, I have a project-oriented mindset. I naturally assess and seek out structural components, foundational conditions, and potential problematic issues. And my life has also led me to have a perspective towards difficult situations, not as problems, but as projects. And I am running, again, my name is Janelle Holtz, to bring safety, stability, and security to our state. We have such great potential. We have so much diversity in education, opportunities, and age groups, and different demographics that can benefit from a whole range of different options to work through and creating a new industry. I have a lot of innovative ideas and thoughts to work with the crises that we face with homelessness, with emerging youth, the difficult circumstances that based upon all age demographics with the impact of COVID. I believe they have great potential to partnerships, such as in Washington State, experience because of the rain. People complain about the rain and not just the rain, but it's why our state is so beautiful. Because you grow, creating support from others and collaborating.
Can you all hear me?
There we go. Okay,
Oh,
Tara.
okay, great. Yeah, I had lost the audio for a minute. Thank you so much for having me here today remotely. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I had already scheduled a trip to New York before I heard about the Eggs and Issues event. So I am appreciative of Joseph for making accommodations. My name is Representative Tara Simmons. I am currently the representative for the 23rd Legislative District, Position 1. I am the seatmate of Representative Drew Hansen. I serve on the Civil Rights, I'm the vice chair of the Civil Rights and Judiciary Committee, where Rep. Hansen is the chair. And I am also on the Healthcare Committee, the Public Safety Committee, and the Rules Committee. I grew up here in Central Kitsap School District. I graduated from Central Kitsap High School as a teen mother. I also went to Olympic College and I'm a proud graduate of that institution. Then went on to PLU and became a registered nurse and was a nurse for 11 years. But many people know that I suffered with substance use disorder and incarceration, which led me to law school, where I graduated magna cum laude from Seattle University School of Law and became a licensed attorney. And now I am a nonprofit director and your current representative. I also raised my family here. Both of my sons are graduates of the Central Kitsap School District. My youngest son is right now in the Marines. He's at boot camp and I haven't heard from him for 3 weeks, so I'm really sad, but he'll come out and serve our community. He hopes to be a Kitsap County Sheriff. I finished my first term and I was unusually effective, I would say. Most of the time when representatives come in as freshmen, they're given little bills. My very first freshman bill restored the right to vote for all people who've been incarcerated immediately upon exiting incarceration. I also passed a huge and that was with bipartisan support, actually. Jesse Young was my number 2 on that bill. I also passed a charity care bill that expanded healthcare access to 2.2 million Washingtonians who are under 400% of the federal poverty level. That was a bipartisan bill as well. I made significant investments in this community, including a $250,000 budget proviso directed to the Greater Kitsap Chamber of Commerce, who's hosting us today. That was to help unleash a new era of entrepreneurship in our community, to reach out to historically underrepresented small businesses and make sure that they could benefit from the funding did I go off camera?
Oh, you're there.
I'm okay. Okay. So because during the pandemic, we kept hearing that small businesses, the smallest, didn't have opportunity to take advantage of the PPP loans and the Department of Commerce grants that we had passed in the legislature. So I really wanted to make sure that our community was safe. I also made investments in Kitsap Mental Health Services, direct budget provisos to Olympic College, to the YWCA to help domestic violence survivors, to the Paulsbo Fire Department for the CARES program, and the list goes on and on. In addition, we've been working really hard to get our ferries back up and running, and my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. All right, candidates. So we've reached the next portion of the question and answer section. We're going to go ahead and start with Drew first on the first question. You'll have 1 minute to respond. Each of you have been given 2 cards. You can use those challenge cards at any specific time. You just indicate to myself, make sure you get my attention that you would like the opportunity to challenge. Your challenge will come after everyone has had their chance to respond. So you'll get the chance at the very end. And we'll move to closing statements at the end. First question. Those of you who have been to one of these before know that it always comes from the most important person, my wife. Why should people vote for you?
Well, if your wife is interested, I would respectfully ask for her vote, because I think I'm effective at helping open up opportunities in this area for people to support their family and go back to the Western expansion. Right? That started a couple of years ago. We had off the road, very long time along the Secretary of State. And sometimes I went with my shirt, that's the movement, where we kind of pushed on it and said, look, WSU, WSU Vancouver, WSU Everett, UW has UW Tacoma. How about Western Olympic, Western Kitsap? And it's taken some time, but that's starting to come to fruition. And that's one example. It was kind of I mentioned my work on public broadband. I work very closely with the Squamish tribe of Kitsap Public Utility District to open up opportunities for any government in this state to offer broadband. Very exciting, right? We all use an alternative, Comcast or Central. And so it's stuff like that that I've got to put practically in place with my community.
Thank you, Drew. Ace? So your challenge, you get a chance to respond, and then you can challenge at the end if you'd like. But you get a chance, so each of you will respond to the same question. So you're up.
All right, so I guess my challenge is response at the end.
Yes, so you'll get 1 minute, and then you can have an additional minute if you wish to challenge.
So in response to why people should vote for me, I think that I provide a level of representation we're not able to get from our current elected Democrats. We have a serious issue with the 23rd district being considered a solid blue district. It means that the parties don't think we can think for ourselves. They know that the Democratic candidate will win despite any popular vote, and they choose to use that to push swing district issues among our representatives. Part of my challenge, and I'm going to bring up more of this when I get the chance, to Drew's opening statement, is he's been working in a Democrat-controlled legislature with a Democrat-controlled governor for a very long time, trying to push the exact same issue of the public utility districts getting broadband access, and the stop to that has been Democrats who don't consider our issues important because we're a safe blue district. they go into Olympia and are immediately pushed on swing district Democrat issues so that swing district Democrats can win their races. Thank you.
Thank you, Ace. Janelle?
you. I'm an innovative thinker, and I have a track record of juggling many hard, difficult situations and overcoming them well. I am great. I work well collaboratively as well. I think quickly on my feet. I have compassion, I have foresight, and I have diligence and endurance to see things through to the end. And I look at things not as problems, but as projects, and I treat everybody with respect. And I know that I don't have all the answers, and I delegate well. And I know that questions are very powerful, and I utilize questions to bring resolution, to bring camaraderie, and to also bring clarity to things. So I look for what is the best interest of everyone. I have no special interest in myself, and I represent the everyday people.
Thank you, Janelle. And Tara?
Thank you. I would ask people to vote for me because I've been effective and accessible during my first term, and because I grew up in this community and know the people here. I represent the majority of our values and have been wildly effective in making sure that I am not just focused on the issues of my committees, but also reaching out to a diverse group of individuals and organizations throughout our district to support them. And I'm deeply connected here. And so that's why I would ask people to continue to support me. There is a learning curve when you come into the legislature. You don't know how to navigate it all in the beginning. And I have put in the work and the time to learn the processes to be more effective. And I think I'll be more effective when we're actually in person and not on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Now, I'll give you the opportunity if you still would like to use your challenge. Okay, please.
So yes, my specific challenge, I would like to know how, with redistricting, causing our districts to be even more census Democrat, you're going to challenge the Democratic Party to accept our issues from our district when they should take you and make you support their issues for swing district votes. There was one bill that passed a combined 146 to 1 in the House and Senate, and it got to Inslee, and he vetoed it. You know how hard it is to get a bill to pass 146 to 1, and for it to just get vetoed? And the Democrats from our district would say, hey, Governor, what are you doing? You shouldn't veto things that are this popular. You guys just lay down like, oh, yes, we need to let the governor do whatever he wants because we're the same party. That's one of the things that I plan on bringing to this representation is checks and balances. The legislature gets to check the executive and the judicial, and I don't feel like when we bring Democrats to the table, they have any willpower or political power to do that. So please tell us how, in your vast experience, you can represent the 23rd district fairly with your party won't. Thank you.
Thank you, Ace. Next question.
Wait,
You guys are above.
I don't know, I mean, the weather, but
We haven't done that in the past. So I would say we will have opportunity, you'll have opportunity there in a closing statement or in a future question that you could use time to respond to that.
I would like to take the rebuttal now as opposed to the rules together.
As long as everybody's okay with that, I'm okay with that. Okay. We will give Drew one minute.
hearing no objection, thank you for that. What we typically do is we try to make our own way. So let's use public broadband as an example. People have been trying for 20 years to get the state's restriction on public broadband networks lifted. I work with the Suquamish tribe, the Kitsap Public Utility District, the teachers unions, the PTA, the the students, and a huge network of nerds who care about broadband statewide. And we worked across party lines, including with Tim Sheldon, who is a Democrat, but who caucuses with Republicans. And we drove that through after people had tried and failed to do it for 20 years. That's an example of the rest of the Democrats and Republicans, because that bill passed with bipartisan support, taking me very, very seriously, even though I am the one my colleagues refer to as state, I mean, something like the Democratic district. This is a politically mixed district. Capitol Hill gave this stuff, okay? But you should see my inbox. I mean, I don't, like, it's not evenly split between Democrats and Republicans, but we have a lot of different opinions in this district. And that's, I think, part of why I'm able to work across party lines fairly successfully and persuade people to promote issues that I care about and matter for me, like expanding broadband.
Thank you. I'd also like to offer my apologies because the rules do state that he gets a rebuttal. That is normally in the fall when we finalize down to 2 candidates, not during the primary. So I set the wrong rules to the group at the chamber. So that's on me. Thank you for calling me out. Okay, next question. We're going to start with Ace now, and we'll continue back down this way, and we'll end with Drew. So you guys follow that. And you can answer this in any way, shape, or form, but we are looking for anything that would include your political career or outside. This question comes from Catherine. What are your proudest accomplishments?
Yeah. Wish I could start with softball. My proudest accomplishments. I was really proud to be a Running Start student, and I was even prouder to graduate when I successfully got my high school diploma. Technically, when you graduate Running Start, you do it a month before you graduate from high school, and they send you your associate's degree with a post-it note on it that says if you don't graduate from high school, they will take it away from you. So technically, graduating high school was actually the prouder moment there, as it solidified my associate's degree. More recently, I've been so proud to go out in the community and just meet everybody and find out how I can help them. I know a lot of the candidates often ask for $5 or ask for some of their time, but just going out and offering my time and my resources to see what I can do to help everyone and even help them help each other has been so amazing. I got met with the Baha'i community the other day, and I would be remiss if I did not mention them in that debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ace. Janelle?
Some of my most accomplishments, even though I faced hardships, I still did not continue on in my education and going to Cal Poly as was the past step for me as a college student. And I was always elected among my peers to be a leader. I was a representative as well as president of our American Student Architects Student Chapter. I was also voted in as a senator for my college campus. And I returned after my first pregnancy to get my degree and pushed through as a young mother in the midst of the hardships of my relationships to support my family, to be the head of my household as a doctor for 3 years. And I also had moments despite the hardships of also sacrificing my own career and having had essentially been unemployed for a decade and stay-at-home mother despite my career path. I left an abusive situation and have overcome that, and now a business owner, and my children are thriving really well.
Thank you, Janelle. Sarah?
Thank you. You know, I have had a lot of proud moments in my life. One of them is being almost 11 years clean in recovery from substance use disorder. You know, not many people beat that. And it's a passion of mine to help other people that have mental health and substance use disorders find recovery. Another proud accomplishment is raising 2 sons who are amazing individuals. Like I said, my youngest son is in boot camp in the Marines right now. He's amazing. And so, breaking generational curses is really important and something I'm proud of. I was the first person in my entire family to graduate high school, but I didn't stop there. I got an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and went to law school. And when the State Bar Association said I couldn't sit for the bar exam because of my past, I didn't take no for an answer. And I fought to the state Supreme Court, where the state Supreme Court ruled unanimously in my favor on the same day. That was a huge accomplishment. And I'm just really proud of all of the work I've been able to do over the last 2 years for our community. I see the investments up close and personal, and it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Sure.
Thank you. I mean, look, outside of being a dad, like, I have 2 young kids, spent a lot of time with that. I wasn't right. I go to the gym with my daughter, or a big friend. That's how we need to go for it. Full answer about what I found like work, accomplishment also wrong work. That's maybe what I take most seriously. Legislatively, I'm probably proud of the bill I passed in 2019 that puts a surcharge on companies that depend on higher education, so software, accounting, law. And we use that money to make public college tuition free for families earning about $60,000 a year or less. That's a huge deal. We did it with the support of Microsoft and Amazon. They voluntarily offered put a surcharge on their being massive, so we could open up for more people. We're spending a lot of people college, and a lot of people who are so far.
Thank you, Jill. Next question, and this time we'll start with Janelle. What element of the state, in your opinion, what element of the state government is most effective and why?
What, in terms of effectiveness, I would say legislature, because we set essentially precedents for what everything else follows suit. Everything that regulations fall under, everything like the school boards, big policy boards, and regulate how our officers have to operate. And I guess in that sense, with the recent bills in the past few sessions, the legislature has caused crime, creates societal issues. Can either help benefit or bring more destruction to it. We all are experiencing crime rising over the last few years. And so the legislature is definitely one of the most effective tools for creating positive and potentially detrimental.
Thank you, Janelle. Sarah, same question. In your opinion, what element of the state government is most effective and why?
I would say right now, I think the judicial branch is the most effective. And I would say that because, in the legislature, it's more difficult. You've got 147 unique people who you have to persuade to vote for your policy or to stop a policy. And it's 147 people. It's a lot of people to try and wrangle around an idea. And I would say the executive branch, it might be effective, but I think, one person having that much power, it can be also harmful. But the judicial branch in our state right now, our state Supreme Court is getting things done, and it's working very effectively. And there's 9 justices. And so it's not as many people to kind of wrangle and to get around an idea or protect some of our most sacred rights. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Drew.
I would say it's our state's college and university system, all the way from the community colleges up to UW. We punch far above our weight in higher education in Washington State. So UW, obviously a world-class research institution. The Allen School of Computer Science, which I have been personally responsible for expanding so we can admit more undergraduates, is probably a top 10 computer science program nationally. But it's not just at the high level. Our community colleges are world class. Every year there's an Aspen 5 community college excellence. They search community colleges nationwide to find the top ones. Every year, a couple of Washington State community colleges are on the finalist list. Are there areas we can do better for college universities? Of course, like I said in my opening, I think we probably need to spend more money on our welding programs, open up more opportunities there. But generally, we are doing a lot better than a lot of other states at preparing people with our public colleges and universities to go get jobs and support their families.
Thank you, Drew. Ace,
Further question again?
in your opinion, what element of the state government is the most effective and why?
Effective is a loaded term. Some people think that means that they get the most done with the least amount of resources. Some people conflate that with power. I would say that the most effective is that one legislator who voted against that bill and managed to get a governor's veto on it. That person has way more efficacy than anyone else in the entire government, including the governor, who, when he proposes bills, often leads to their, for lack of a better term, death on the legislative floor, because he takes all the credit for legislative achievements. So the most effective part of our government, from my position, the part that's doing the most with the least, is actually our PCOs. They don't receive any additional funding from the government. It's an unpaid position, and they actually cause a lot of disruption at the grassroots level. So I would say that our PCOs, combined with the central organizations that they create, do far more than any other elected members of our government. And I would encourage all of our representatives to attend a group events on both parties.
Thank you. Next question, and I believe we're starting with Tara this time. Tara, how would you define economic development, and what is your plan for economic development in the legislative 2030?
Thank you so much, John. Economic development is not only about small businesses, but it's also about, it is about supporting our small businesses, but it's also about workforce development in a variety of professions, and also about community development and building our communities, such as investing in our main streets. And some of the things that we did and that I will continue to do in the legislature is make things easier for our small businesses, such as reducing the B&O tax. We gave $135 million of tax relief this last session to our small businesses. And part of that, the part that I love the most was eliminating even the need to file for a B&O tax relief for the smallest businesses under $125,000 a year of gross receipts. They won't even have to worry about that bureaucracy anymore. And workforce training is really important. All of the apprenticeships that we're doing, all of the removing of barriers, so we can get ferry workers and nurses and in-home care providers. All of that's very important. Sorry.
Thank you, Tara. Drew.
So I think generally there are two ways to think about economic development. One is the rate of where you publish cut benefits, come find cheap labor they can, they got cheap technology. The other is the race to the top, where you have high wages, high benefits, clean air and water, decent schools, lots of opportunities for people, and people want to move to places, grow companies there, make a life there with their family. It's no surprise to you, I believe in the latter version of economic development, the race to the top. And again, and not to be a broken record here, but like higher education, college, and apprenticeship opportunities are one of the fundamental strategies for how we build that. If we do a new Western presence on the peninsula and 4,000 more students here, we will see more companies founded here, right? We will see more companies want to do sites here because you have a willing, capable workforce. Very, very exciting opportunities for our area, and something I would be really thrilled to be able to be a part of on the list.
Thank you, Drew. Ace.
You already know my good question.
Yes. How do you define economic development, and what is your plan for economic development in the legislative 2030?
I define economic development as creating a fair environment for businesses to thrive. So my plan for economic development focuses on schools first and service second. I think our service workers are vastly underappreciated, but more importantly, our schools are nowhere near funded at the levels that our state constitution asks for and in fact demands. We need to represent our schools better. I have met with two separate groups, one that believes that our students are being exposed to too much in schools, and one that believes our students are not being exposed to enough. What I try to explain to both of these groups is they're actually on the same team. There's a third group that believes that our schools don't deserve funding, that our students aren't worth it, and they are wrong. And they hide behind this fractional excuse that they created, where the parents are worried that the teachers in the schools are somehow against them, and they're very much not. Our schools and our teachers work very well together, and we don't give them that opportunity.
Thank you. Janelle?
Economic development is a full cycle circle that is self-sustaining. And how I plan to stimulate our economy for the short term and the long run is by removing unnecessary red tape and regulations and reducing costs to businesses, and especially for those who like to entrepreneurially start up businesses in which we might change. And when we take also that it involves accountability, we're lacking hugely in some ways. Not only with our government programs, our monies, and our officials, but also for each individual person, everybody should be held to the same standard and treated equally. And when we have, our police need to be able to do that. We need to be able to have compassionate, sustainable programs that involve the homeless, those with drug addiction, those with criminal backgrounds, to deal with the root causes, to give them solutions and hope, to be able to bring in businesses that would like to bring in shifts and be able to grow their own business in that way. And that is how I plan to do it. And I know that's how we can be so very successful society and economically for long run.
Thank you, Drew. Next question. On my count, we're back to Drew. Drew, some believe that being pro-business means anti. Please share how you plan to support both business and labor.
Yeah, I do not, as you heard from my last answer, believe we should be anti-labor pro-business. I think it was a mistake when Boeing moved a bunch of highly unionized Washington State, where IAM 751 machine state is one of the flagships, to the non-unionized, non-trade skilled South Carolina facilities. What happened? Well, the plane didn't work so well. Why? Because you lose that legacy of generations of skilled professionals and aircraft machinists who can design and build planes. That's the way you do it, right? I mean, you're cutting yourself off short if you think you can underinvest in your workforce and still end up making products that people are going.
Thank you, Drew. Ace, some believe that being pro-business means being anti-labor. Would you please share how you plan to support both business and labor?
Thank you. I actually believe that business does a really good job of supporting itself. And much like when the Democrats get elected and then they caucus and only half of them choose what all of them have to do, when you're pro-business, you're really only pro half of business, deciding what the rest of it have to do. Competitive business environment includes businesses that fail. That's just the reality of competitive business. So much like Drew was mentioning that there's a race to the top or a race to the bottom. All are strong pro-labor and are not necessarily beneficial to those racing to the top. That is beneficial to those racing to the top. Creating a fair business environment where everyone has to pay their employees an equal and respectable wage is a race to the top, and it's hard on businesses that would like to exploit that. But the fact is those are not good businesses. We should not be creating a business environment that encourages bad businesses to succeed. Thank you.
Trace.
From my perspective, the two goes hand in hand. I don't see how you can be one and not the other, but then again, we may be having different definitions of what we're talking about here. But I believe ultimately by allowing for creativity to flow, respect and mutual understanding, is what creates relationships, and that's what it's really all about. You got to have a relationship to be able to have a successful business and to have a successful labor group. I know for me, in my business, that because of the high taxes, because of a lot of red tape in the building industry, that it actually inhibits growth, that it inhibits the ability to expand on your labor industry or your labor crew. So I believe that by removing red tape and having proper ability to have that relationship, that mutual understanding, and agreements, that's what's really going to enable the both to thrive together. Because when you're required to have certain requirements by an outside force that is not actually part of the relationship, it creates unnecessary conflict and hardships on people, even though it may sound good, it not necessarily is.
Thank you, Janelle. Sarah?
Thank you, John. So I think, promoting both is what we do in the legislature. It's all collaboration. It is about listening to both sides and trying to find compromise amongst the workers and the business owners. I would say that a large portion of my advocacy for business is around small businesses. However, I am supported by Amazon and a lot of small businesses and labor because I do take the time to listen and try to create solutions that work for both. I think another way we can be pro-business and pro-labor is by having security for our workers, such as childcare investments. I know I met with you, John, during the pandemic, and you said one of the hardest things that you were dealing with at the time at Kitsap Credit Union was childcare for your workers to come in and work. And so that's what the legislature did. We promoted labor and business together by making investments in childcare. And so there are a lot of solutions. We don't have a lot of adversarial moments actually, because we listen and collaborate.
Thank you, Janelle. The next couple questions are about growth in our community. With current business, and I believe Ace, you're first. With the current business and population growth in the 23rd district, as state legislator, what is your plan to accommodate additional demand of the services in our area?
So the Growth Management Act was created to address a lot of these concerns, and it's been horribly mismanaged. I've spoken with a lot of people around here about their concerns to maintain our forested living style while also being able to develop their own lots. And they describe that as being able to have their cake and eat it too. Unfortunately, under the Growth Management Act, they've been given neither. They cannot subdivide their own lots, even though they're much larger than the development zoning that's being put in place. And the tree areas next to them are being developed for massive housing projects. Next to Indianola, they're putting an Arborwood development where they're taking something like 250 acres of previously forested lands, put in 750 homes. This population density is absurd. The people around there could have easily subdivided their 5-acre lots to put in more housing, but they were denied that opportunity because of the Growth Management Act. The same Growth Management Act that was supposed to protect those tree areas. The people that want their cake and eat it too can actually have it. But more importantly, they're getting neither. Thank you.
Thank you, Ace. Janelle?
Thank you. So is it my plans to growth?
Yes. So the actual question, with the current business and population growth in the 23rd district, as state legislator, what is your plan to accommodate additional demand on services?
So I agree a lot with what Ace was talking about. That needs to be fixed, the Growth Management Act. But what needs to be assessed, we have audits of much of our systems, much of our programs, our money, as well as sewage and things like that. So we have to take a look at that and how we can actually create affordable housing and with affordable communities, and we can't do that with the current Growth Management Act. But we definitely need to look at transportation while everybody's getting around. That would be one of them. And with the Growth Management Act, I believe that it creates more of a hardship on the sewage systems. And so that is something that would have to be looked at and addressed. I think what the current systems that are set in place, that they seem to not be very sustainable, and I'm not sure why they haven't been well addressed. But it's something that I plan to look into even before there is a pressing issue for it, that it be done ahead of time, so we have foresight to be able to handle those for the drug.
Thank you, Jerome. Sarah.
Well, I know that the county is undergoing its current comprehensive plan to address the growth, and will make recommendations to the legislature about the needs. But one thing I am passionate about is around housing, and the fact that a lot of people are moving here, and we are going to be experiencing an increase in homelessness very soon because of the increase in rent prices and home prices. And so we need to increase the supply of housing, first and foremost, to accommodate the growth that we're experiencing. And the way that we can do that is by addressing our Growth Management Act and looking at the zoning in the Growth Management Act. One thing that we took up this last session was the elimination of single family zoning near transit stops. And I supported that. However, Bainbridge Island actually doesn't have the infrastructure to support an increase in housing because of the Sol Aquifer out there. So we had to eliminate Bainbridge Island from that bill. Unfortunately, it didn't pass, but housing is the thing that we need to address first and foremost, I think.
Thank you. Drew.
So we have a housing affordability crisis in this county. I mean, home prices have gone for sure. And there are a lot of reasons for that. I'm going to refer to that later. The solution to that is build more housing in areas that are already zoned for density. So that means a lot of different things: townhomes, duplexes, the so-called ADUs, which I think used to be known as mother-in-law apartments, but I don't know if we call them that anymore. All of the above are more of what we need to have. So we actually have places where people live when they come here for their jobs or for whatever else is here. But we have to be very careful about becoming capacity in our environment. The aquifers can't hold everyone who wants to come here. Okay? Now, traditionally in our government, we rely on local governments, counties, city of Bremerton, city of Paulsville to make those decisions and make those balances. At the state level, we've been providing more incentives for building more affordable housing. I think we will continue to do so. But really, fundamentally, county governments, local governments are the first people who manage those decisions at the local level, sort of balancing the needs of local communities. And we will continue to have that responsibility.
Thank you, Drew. There was a challenge raised on the question. Ace, 1 minute.
Yes, you mentioned transportation and sewage, some of the issues with growth in our area. The county considers roads to be basically their entire project, they're a road district. And so they want the impact fees to be charged on new development, which is actually road network development. And then the impact fees are collected at the time that someone moves in. So the money comes directly from the new home buyer, but it's considered paid by the developer. Then the developer can use that money for road improvement projects in the development zone, including in front of their house. However, road projects at the state level are funded through grants and matching funds based on these impact fees. So when the developers pay millions of dollars in impact fees, it actually comes directly from the new home buyer. They can reuse some of those funds for their own selfish road improvements, which actually ruins the ability to get the roads built for the rest of us. And then, because the road project doesn't happen, the rest of those development impact fees are refunded to the developer, even though the roads are not being built for the new homeowners. How would you fix that? Thank you.
Thanks, Ace. And Janelle, 1 minute to respond.
Well, it sounds like poor policy. Correcting poor policy is what creates, is what creates the problems that we have. We have poor policies that inhibits growth, that places exceptional costs unnecessarily on items, especially if it goes in a roundabout circle. That's or policy that would have to be addressed. And that is part of the accountability. When I talk about accountability, it's a huge umbrella. But that is part of it. And we can't grow if we're limited and put into a box, especially at a time when we need to think outside the box where our policies and regulations are creating part of the problem. You know, with the Growth Management Act and inhibitions of those, that does not allow for affordable communities. If we're going to have affordable housing, we got to have affordable communities that are not needing to be supported by the high density areas that can't handle it. To me, I think creative thinking, innovation that I think a lot of people can work with, that can have sustainable communities that can help with the homeless epidemic that is rising and the epidemic that we're facing of inflation that is just perpetuated by the exceptional cost of home living.
Thank you, Gina. And we're right back at you for the next question. So I'm going to, in the interest of time, kind of put these two together. I'll let you answer them as you see fit. Kitsap County faces a severe housing shortage. A recent study from Eco Northwest shows that we'll need as many as 25,000 new units by 2036. And many businesses in the 23rd are being affected by homelessness. How will you ensure Kitsap County meets the need for new housing and address homelessness?
I just, the first part of the question, I just touched on that. Even if it may not be very clear exactly my whole picture plan on that, but it is a part of some of, I guess, for lack of better words, criminal justice reform and rehabilitation, where it's self-sustaining. You can create affordable living within it, teaching skills, accountability to others, opportunities, and real tools that deal with the root cause. And when you enable people, when you give them tools, you give them purpose, potential is just amazing. The community, the heart of the community really grows, and we have to be able to reestablish or to establish new creators for that. Not transplanting people, but we need to be able to expand so we're sustainable, and we need to be able to enable police to hold everybody accountable equally, because we're at $2 billion now from retail theft. This cannot survive that, cannot thrive with that. So we need to be able to ensure that we can protect our businesses, that people will be encouraged to open new retail businesses. Because right now, I would not work in a retail business. Absolutely not.
Thank you. Sarah, it's a lengthy one, so I'll read it again. And it's from Elizabeth, so thank you, Elizabeth. Kitsap County faces a severe housing shortage. A recent study from Eco Northwest shows we will need as many as 25,000 new units by 2036. Many businesses in the 23rd are being affected by homelessness. What is your plan to address homelessness and meet the need for future housing units in your area?
Thank you, John. Yeah, this is something I immediately started meeting with the county on after session, because the legislature allocated $500 million to our housing trust fund this last session, and it was historic. And I wanted to know how that's going to be implemented in our community. And it's also something I've been meeting with developers about, because I'm trying to, in my personal life, I guess, just find some developers that would be willing to access the housing trust fund dollars to develop affordable housing. We are building a lot right now in Kitsap County, a lot of housing, but it's not affordable housing. So one of the things that we did also is invest in the Pendleton Place, which is great. 72 beds with co-occurring, with supportive housing for people with co-occurring disorders. And we need more of that, because no matter what we say, there are going to be people who are homeless and who are going to need permanent supportive housing and permanent subsidized housing, because we have our elderly, our veterans, our people with co-occurring substance use disorders and mental health issues. So we need a variety of different kind of housing. So we've been allocating the funding. We just have to find the developers now to do it here in Kitsap County, and I'm on a mission to do that.
Thank you, Tara. Drew.
So I talked about the housing affordability part of it earlier. So my way of quick recap: build more in areas zoned for density, including ADUs, duplexes, and more. Be very careful about the carrying capacity of the environment, specifically including the aquifers. If you do that, these are generally local decisions. I can be flexible for how the state encourages this, but at the end of the day, these are local decisions. The state has a role to promote this, but the state should not be the main driver. It's the local decision at the end of the day. On the homelessness side of the question, I agree with what Representative Simmons just said. We just opened Pendleton Place not far away. It is 70 units of supported housing, which means housing when the healthcare services right there, health services right there, substance use services right there. The League of Women Voters made welcome baskets for everyone so they can move into their new apartment and feel like it's a home. What we need for homelessness is more places for people to be housed, okay? We need more places for people to be and to stay. And so whether that's Pendleton Place or something like what Drake Jackson, another community leader, is doing, which is sort of a daytime shelter gathering area, which is pet friendly, a huge deal, and absolutely what we should have, because a lot of people without homes have pets, and we got to have places for people to go get a haircut, people to go hang out, people to go decompress. So we need more things like that for the homelessness side of the operation, as well as building more housing, so we get housing prices down to a more reasonable level so people can afford.
Thank you, Drew. Ace. I'm gonna do this one more time. Kitsap County faces a severe housing shortage. A recent study from Eco Northwest shows we will need as many as 25,000 new units by 2036. Many businesses in the 23rd district are by homelessness. What is your plan to address homelessness? Ensure we meet the needs of the housing units.
First off, I'd like to disagree with their assessment. But more importantly, I've seen homelessness in our community when I was going around as a college student doing a photography study. One of the pictures I took was of a homeless man in the park, and I was really happy to see how quickly he was rehabilitated. He was homeless, then 6 weeks later, he wasn't. Our homeless community has received a tremendous amount of support from the community as a whole. We've tolerated a lot of different levels of homelessness, including branch of homelessness we refer to as outdoor kitties. These are veterans who are not ready for homes. They don't want services. They want to be left alone, and they're perfectly comfortable being in a situation that we would refer to as homeless. There's other causes of homelessness, and as long as we have a good plan to transition people out of homelessness, we can address these causes first. One of the big causes of homelessness is people being taxed out of their homes. I have a proposal to increase the senior property tax exemption in place. They actually see a reduction in property taxes instead of an increase. We have a big problem with seniors not being able to live next to healthcare services. I believe this would actually allow them to live in homes instead of having to be homeless. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question before we wrap up, I believe, Tara, we're starting with you this time. Tara, how would you prioritize equity in business at the state level?
Equity in business at the state level, is that the question?
Correct.
How do I prioritize
Correct.
that? Well, I think that is evidenced by my proviso to the Greater Kitsap Chamber of Commerce, which gave the Chamber of Commerce the authority and the money to go out and find small businesses from historically underrepresented communities and give them small grants. I want to see our Chamber of Commerce grow, and I want us to bring in more diverse businesses from people of color, from LGBTQ communities, from women, from veterans, and support those small businesses. I also think one of the things I really love about the program is that we're going to have dedicated outreach, and I'm excited to be a partner with you on that and continue to expand upon that work together. I absolutely believe that entrepreneurship can be a pathway out of poverty and into a life of purpose for many people, including people with conviction records who are oftentimes not hireable because of HR policies in different big businesses and institutions. So I'm excited about that proviso, and I think I've shown that I prioritize equity in business development through that.
Thank you, Tara. True.
At the state level, the biggest thing we do to promote equity in business is we have started in the last few years being more strategic and intentional about doing outreach and technical assistance. So businesses that get state contracts aren't just the same firms that have been getting state contracts all the way along. All that does is need to get the same players. It's also bad for the state because it means they're not getting a lot of competition. So particularly in the Department of Transportation over the last couple of years, there's been an intensive effort to do more outreach and technical assistance to businesses that may not have been included in state contracting processes in the past. We are going to be doing, well, I should say, the legislature and others will, God willing, continue that effort. That's exactly what we should be doing because it helps open up more opportunities for more businesses. But again, it also helps the state and the public because you get more businesses bidding for contracts, which helps keep costs down.
Would you prioritize equity in business at state level?
One of the groups I've been meeting with had a proposal to expand the cannabis licensing to minority groups, particularly those that were heavily affected by the illegalization of cannabis products through the years. And immediately thereafter, they pointed out that it's also one of the most dangerous industries right now because they don't have the federal support for operating those businesses in a cash-free way. So I was very hesitant to adopt their first policy, given that it would lead to minorities being pushed into a dangerous line of work for business. I think that some of the best opportunities we have are being preserved, particularly by strong union groups. And it's unfortunate that they now find themselves in the precarious position of having to open their doors really wide because they were so protectionary in the past. Electricians, for instance, have made huge strides to increase their apprenticeship programs. I'm sure Drew knows a lot about this. But the reason they've had to do this is because they have been excessively protectionary up until this point. I think a lot of our organizations often think that being protectionary is the way forward. And I'm really happy to let them know subtle ways to fix that. Thank you.
Thank you, Reese. And Janelle.
Yeah, so I think a great way to be able to help to create equity is to remove a lot of, I guess, regulatory issues that sometimes businesses face upon themselves. One is the concerning continuation of most businesses disallowing felons to be employed. When somebody's done their time, especially if it's not even relevant to the industry in which they're applying for. I know many people that have been greatly affected by that, and they're great people. They made mistakes in their lives, and obviously they have done their time. And a lot of times it's not even involving anything that is related to their industry. And so I think that is something that needs to be assessed and see if there's a way that we can essentially ban that when it's not related to the industry in which the person is seeking for employment. And then also, I would like to have a focus where everybody's looked at equally and treated equally. And emphasis on when we hyper-focus on color, someone's skin, or their gender, I think that just continues to create a problem. And so that's why I say promoting the idea of equality, if treated as the individual that you are, what you earn, what you've done. And that being the focus, and as well as creating the systems of internship and growth in a sustainable way. I think that's going to be a huge thing to look at.
Thank you. And finally, our wrap up. So thank you for the Q&A section. We're going to go backwards from the opening statement. So Tara, we're going to start with you today, and then we're going to work our way back to Janelle, Ace, and then True. Tara, you get 2 minutes for the closing statement to make your case on why folks should vote for you.
Thank you so much, John. It has been the honor of my lifetime to serve the 23rd Legislative District. I think I've been accessible and effective, and that was in a Zoom session. So I imagine I will be even more accessible and effective when we can be in person. Before I even joined the legislature, I've been working with the business community on overcoming barriers to employment for people with conviction records. I really appreciate the support of the AWB and so many other chambers across the state who helped us pass fair chance legislation around that in 2016, 2017. And since I've been elected, I have continued to work with the business community and listen to you when you have an issue such as needing childcare for workers or needing less regulation or less impact by your B&O taxes. While we've made progress, it is clear that our local business community right now is still suffering from the pandemic. Particularly as we continue to struggle with supply chain issues, labor shortages, and a looming recession. I am going to continue to help you and be accessible to you. I also have the overwhelming majority of support in this district. I'm leading the race in endorsements and fundraising. Notably, I have the sole endorsement of the Kitsap County Sheriff, the Kitsap County Prosecutor, Planned Parenthood, and the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, teachers, nurses, and both of our local tribes. And even Amazon is backing my race. So I will continue to work with all parties and all people. I have built effective relationships across the aisle, and I look forward to continuing to serve you, and thank you for your support.
As well as bringing accountability. Accountability is important. I want to be held accountable, and I know that everybody is held accountable, that we can really be very effective and very efficient. And I'm really excited for what is to come from our state through all the hardships that we face. I have plans, and I'm really excited to work with others to team for this community. What will start up and grow in our communities within communities that have lost hope, where there is when there's no hand for hope or a place to go, why would anybody even make a move? And so I feel like there's a huge thing that is going on in our society, and I believe with a sustainable society that runs full circle, innovatively looking for other alternatives and options for energy, for our vehicles, for programs, and for the supply chains, for farms, for industry. We have such untapped potential. And I'm really excited to bring that forth. And so thinking outside the box, but with foresight. So we don't face the things that we are facing right now because of legislation that did not have foresight of the impacts that would have on our business. It makes me very sad to think about where this can continue to go if we don't intervene and have foresight and have consideration for what's the rights of everyone, and having constitutional accountability for all the legislation that is passed. And again, thinking with foresight to ensure that we will not be in the situation that we are today with the rising of crime, with the homeless epidemic, with lack of compassionate hope and no solutions. My name is Janelle Holtz. I'm ready to represent you for the 24th legislative district position, and I hope you're enjoying the vote.
Thank you, Janelle. Ace.
Hello. Drew mentioned that in order to get things passed, he had to resort to bipartisanship, despite the Democrats being in control at every level. I believe that's because they do not listen to us, and they won't listen to us until we elect a Republican. I think I can beat that Republican. I'm not running on a platform of strict Republicanism. I believe that Republic is important. Having representation, even though you don't execute your own representation yourself, is important. I believe that I'm the only one who's actually putting forward bipartisanship. I've challenged all of the candidates here to come out with me to do something with the community. They've all declined. I met in this very room with the Silverdale Seaback Republican women. Janelle was there. The very next day, I met in this room with the Democratic women. Drew was there. There wasn't anybody else who did both of those meetings. So when I say I represent this entire community, I believe that you can see that. You don't have to take my word for it. You can call me, invite me out to some event. I will be there. I'll help set up, I'll help tear down. I will clean up litter off the street. I will, enjoy your church, whatever event you have where you would like politicians to be present, I would like to be there. And I would challenge all of these candidates to accept your invitation as well and see if you can get us all to be there. Because at this point, this event is the only place where I've seen any kind of bipartisanship. This is the first time I've been in a room with these people together. I don't think this should be a rare thing, and I don't think that we should be unavailable to each other to work together. It's important that we show that we have a united community. And even though we're political rivals, we have differences of political opinion. First and foremost, we should show a true spirit of togetherness that our community actually represents. I've been telling people that we're not that far apart, but honestly, when they don't meet me at the same level that I'm meeting the rest of the community, I think we are actually quite very far apart. Thank you.
Thank you, Ace. Drew.
Thank you, John, for doing a great job moderating. Thank you to the Chamber and the Cloverleaf for having us, and to our small but mighty audience who joined us this morning. It's great to see people in person again, so I'm glad to have an active in-person campaign season. I would respectfully ask all of you and the viewers who see the screen to vote for me, because I do have a proven track record of opening up opportunities for people not to support their families, whether that's new programs at Olympic College, whether that's making public college and apprenticeship tuition free by asking some of the richest corporations on the planet to pay a little bit more to help working families afford it, whether that's opening up opportunities for apprenticeships and keeping a close eye on whether we are paying our welding partners enough to make sure that we can train welders for 13-week courses to get out of jobs immediately. That's what I work on, and what, God willing, I will continue to work on. And there are a lot of other ways that people engage in the legislature. Like, that's how I engage. I try to help people get decent jobs so they have opportunities to support their families. That helps our businesses in our area. It helps our schools in our area. It helps families and stability in our area. So if you all are kind enough to return me to Olympia, that is what I will continue to do. It is a deep honor to do that work. It is a deep honor to try to be part of opening up opportunities for people who may not have around in this country, whether it's because of where they live, or because they have a conviction on their record, or formerly incarcerated, or whatever. That's kind of fundamentally what I care about, is opening up opportunities for folks to do a good job, support their families, live decent life. So thank you for your care and attention this morning, and I would love to have the vote.
Thank you to Drew, and thank you to all the candidates for joining us today. And thank you for being here and being part of this and providing our questions. This was recorded today and will be posted to a coming soon joint Facebook page. As you know, the Greater Kitsap Chamber just last week announced its new name and that both Bremerton and Silverdale were merging as of July 1st. We're in the process of those logistics, so look on Facebook for more information for that. And lastly, I invite you out again. Our next exit issues will be right here on July 6th, where we speak with the candidates for the Central Kitsap County Commission race. So we hope to see you then. Thank you, and have a great day.
Good job.